Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you're watching Save Today with Heather J. As always, I am somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. I began my journey in May of 2023 to change that path, to create a better financial future than my financial past has been. I am no longer comfortable living paycheck to paycheck and being that close to the edge. So I'm trying to change that. That's what this channel is about. It's my journey to get out of debt, to save some money and get some of the large ticket items I've never been able to afford for myself, to improve my credit so that I can purchase some of those things, and then to eventually get some savings set aside, whether that's retirement or one life ahead, to build a buffer so that one life event does not put me in financial crisis anymore. But that is still quite a ways away. Today is my March monthly closeout. We're going to go and take a quick look at what I estimated my bills were going to be and how that actually came to be. And then we're going to go take a look at my debts, my desires, my savings, my credit score, all of that. I like to do at the end of the month kind of a roundup, and just take a look at where that's at. There are some things that have shown up this month that now need to be added to a debt list. And for the most part, my desires have stayed the same throughout this journey. Some things have fallen off, some things have come on. Let's take a look at what that's going to look like. When I set up my budget, I start with my hourly wage. I give myself an estimated hours of work week and then how many weeks in the cycle we're talking about, and then take away 25% for taxes and insurance. So this is my month, so that's a 4-week cycle. So $20.85 an hour times 38 hours times 4 weeks, take away 25%. And what I'm left with as a wage estimate is $2,376.90. I actually brought home $3,215.58, which was $838.68 more than I had estimated that would be. I give my estimates based on all of those factors I just told you about, but at this moment I am adding paid time off days to my check to bring home a bigger check, because in my company, if you don't use your PTO at your anniversary, the anniversary of your hire date, you lose all but 40 hours of that. Last year, I did in fact lose a significant portion of paid time off because I did not use it before my rollover date, mostly because I had forgotten that that was a thing that happens. And I wasn't taking any vacation, so why did I need to take some time off? This year I was reminded of that will go away, and so I have been adding it to my check so that I don't lose it, because it's mine to have. My anniversary date is approaching, not quickly, but it is approaching, and I needed to use up some. So that is where this $838.68, the large portion of that is that paid time off. Now I estimate 30 hours, and sometimes I work 39 and a half. I get closer to that 40 hours. But that extra really is that extra paid time off. Then I had estimated I would be getting a refund on a bill for $35 this month. It turns out that did not come in. And when I called to talk to that bill provider, that will actually be a check that shows up in the mail for me in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So I have bumped that back, and it will be showing back up again at some later date, but that's not right now. I did, however, get $433 in my other category. This was savings that I had pulled into this month's budget to cover something that's going to happen later, and we'll go over that in a minute. But that does mean in the other category I had $398 more than I had estimated I would when I set this up 4 weeks ago. So I brought in My income was actually $3,648.58, which was $1,236.68 more than I had estimated it was going to be. Let's see what I did with all of that money. The next section I have here is my fixed expenses, basically all of the bills that I needed to pay with this month. And then I have my flexible spending, and then we're going to go over the ending balance. So the first thing is always my rent. This was estimated to be $878 this month. My rent had gone up by $25. I received an email about 2 weeks before my rent was due, and so I adjusted that estimate. But it turns out that wasn't set to start in March. My increase was set to start in April. They gave me a 6-week window, and I didn't pay attention to the fact that it was dated April. When I set up my estimate, I just included that. So that does mean I just paid $853 for rent, which did save me that $25. My utilities were estimated to be $225. They were actually $247.13, which was $22.13 more than I had estimated they would be. The utilities is the one consistent bill that will fluctuate. I don't have it set up on any kind of an level pay. So in the winter months when I'm using the heat, the bills are higher, and in the summer months, they're lower because there's no central air conditioning. So it's significantly lower, and we're heading into that now. My phone bill is estimated at $194.49. Now this phone bill, I am beginning to do my research and switching over from T-Mobile, who my current provider is, to Mint. Right now, I have my phone line, a phone for my son, a tablet, and the home internet. That's why it's that high. I also have 2 different streaming services on there. And so when I switch, I will be just having a single unlimited phone line, and I will be switching to Mint. So I have gone to T-Mobile to find out when I cancel that. Because I've been with T-Mobile for 12 years now, something insane. Initially, those bills were billed behind. You paid based on your usage, and so they were billed behind. So I'm still in that initial payment plan. When I pay this bill of the $194.49, I'm not paying my usage ahead, I'm paying back pay. So when I cancel my T-Mobile, I will have a full month of back pay and a prorated of that current month I'm actually in. So that's something I need to consider when I switch over to Mint. Also, all of those other things are currently being paid for, and I need to give some time to have those go other places. As far as the internet needs to be brought over to my son's line, we need to decide what we're doing with that tablet, blah, 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 blah. So that's why that has not happened yet. But it will be happening soon, and when it does, that bill will be significantly shorter. But right now it's $194.49. That is what the bill was. That's what I paid. There's no difference there. I have my student loans at $69.74. That's what I paid. No difference there. At some point, I'll be paying more on those student loans, but I haven't found a way to make that happen yet. I have this subscription for $10.82. That is what I paid. This should be the last month for that subscription, so that should now be in my income. I had an estimate for $75 for doctor's office visit co-pays. I only had 2 of my 5 or 6 visits this month where I had to do co-pays. The rest of those I will be getting bills in the mail after insurance has paid. And then I did get radiology bill that I paid this month. So instead of $75, I paid $67.94 towards my doctor visits, which was $7.06 less than my initial estimate was. I have this hospital bill for $38.80, and that's what I paid. This was when I took myself to the emergency room at the end of November. That's on a payment plan that's $38.80 for 24 months. At some point, once we are done with all of the medical stuff we're looking at, and I stop having more and more bills, then I can start playing catch up and spending more money into these, but that's not yet. Taxes, I had to pay my federal taxes, $53. That was the estimate. That's what I paid. No difference there. I always have this other line. in case something comes up, but it's set at zero. Unfortunately, I did spend $1,063.96 in my other category over this 4-week month. I did buy myself plane tickets for a trip I'll be having in a couple of months. And I did give my son some money to get his car fixed. That money will be coming back to me. But we went from zero. I spent $1,063.96, which does put that all in the red. So my estimate for my bills was $1,544.85. I actually spent $2,598.88, which was $1,054.03 more than I had estimated that would be at the beginning of the month. Now we go into my flexible spending, and my flexible spending is those things that don't have a fixed total at the beginning of the month. These are the areas where I can get myself into the most trouble if I don't pay close enough attention. So that's my groceries, dining out, transportation, art, and miscellaneous. Those are the categories I track on a at least weekly basis. For this 4-week cycle, I had given myself an estimate of $660 for groceries. I spent $671.22, which was $11.22 more than I had set up my estimate for. In my dining out category, I had given myself no money. I'm trying very much to not spend on dining out. Unfortunately, I did have a series of events that happened, and I went out twice and spent $84.07. It was just 2 days back to back in this 4-week cycle, but I didn't give myself anything, so that entire $84.07 is in the red. In the transportation, I had given myself an estimate of $80. I did spend $119.91, which was $39.91 more than I had put in my estimate. Some of this will be coming back because some of that was to fill up my son's car, and he'll be paying me back for that once things loosen back up for him after that car repair. In the art category, I had given myself $30. I didn't end up spending any of that. I ultimately ended up not having money to spend in that category. So that $30 is in the green. It gets eaten up in other areas. In the miscellaneous category, I had given myself $30. I spent $79.19, which was $49.19 over budget. For those keen-eyed people who are actually looking at the screen right now, you'll see that I wrote that down incorrectly, and I will need to fix that off camera. My total estimate, what I thought I was going to spend in my flexible spending category, was $800. What I actually spent in this category was $954.39, which was $154.39 more than I had estimated I would spend in that. That is unfortunate, but that's just what happened. So let's take a look at what that ending balance was. I had initially, my income was estimated to be $2,411.90. It was actually $3,648.58, which was $1,236.68 more than I thought that was going to be. It's nice when the money's green, you get paid more. It's even nicer when it's because you actually got paid more and not because you pulled some from savings, but that's what it is. My fixed expenses was estimated at $1,544.85. It was actually $2,598.88, which was $1,054.03 more than I thought that was going to be. Some of that I will be getting back. Some of that I will not. My flexible expenses were estimated at $800. I spent $954.39, which was $154.39 more than I thought. So what does that mean at the end of the month? I had thought I was going to have $67.05 left over at the end of this 4 weeks. I actually had $95.31, which was $28.26 more than I had estimated that was going to be. I honestly don't know where that extra is, except that, well, it looks like most of it was after paycheck number one, I was able to get some of that set into savings and then pulled it back out again. But that's where my 4-week month of March finishes out. Now let's go take a look at my debts and desires. I always want to kind of see what happened, what got added to, what's carrying over, and where I'm at with that. So in my debts, I have my state taxes. The state I'm in right now, I owe $205 to those taxes. I will need to pay that. That carries over. I have co-pays from previous doctor's visits at $29.50. That will need to get paid now that I have that final bill. I have a radiology bill for $12.39 that showed up this month. I'll need to take care of that next month. I have a hospital bill for $321.91. That was from some breathing tests I had to have done. And I have a estimate for a hospital bill for an MRI at $870.84. So my total in debt as we close out March and begin my month of April, I have $1,439.64 in debt. Some of this, I already have a plan for fixing that, and I'll tell you that now. So this doctor's appointment and this radiology bill, those are going to be part of my bills that I pay in April. This breathing test for the 321, I've already called to make arrangements on that. And I think 2 others that I have not actually received the bill yet. They were able to combine those with that hospital bill I'm already paying for the $38.80 on that 2-year time frame. And so that will show up as we set April's budget. Now, will that really change in April or will that change in May? We'll find out once the bill comes due, but that's where that is. This $870, this was an estimate I was given as I was walking into that procedure. And at this time, this bill has not yet gone through the insurance process and it has not yet shown up in billing. So that one can't be addressed. So that one will hang out for a while. The state taxes are also going to need to be paid in my month of April because, of course, tax day is April 15th. So that's the end of that. So that's the plan for how I plan on dealing with this $1,439.64. We'll see if life allows my plan to go smoothly. Now my desires. What are some of the things that I really want to get? This section here is a huge reason why I finally wanted to stick and change. There are some large ticket items that I want that I will never be able to have so long as I'm living paycheck to paycheck and not setting any money aside, not fixing my credit. So this section here is my why for why I'm doing this journey. So I would like to have a handy quilter Sweet 16, which the estimate I've been able to find online is $6,195 for a new one. Does it have to be the handy quilter? No, it could be any other ones of those, but I want a mid-arm, not a long arm. It's a very niche product, and it's one I've wanted for at the minimum 10 years. I'm at a point where not having something is slowing down my progression in my creative process. And I want it, and I am going to have it at some point. I just am not there yet. The next thing I have on my list is this U-Haul for $5,195. I want to buy an old retired U-Haul box truck to own for myself. I have explained in other videos why I want that, but I move a lot. I'm currently planning my next move. That's very expensive. You spend a lot of money. At this time, my next move, I would need to have over $3,000 just to rent the U-Haul for the 6 days it would take to get me from here to there. I would much rather have that be savings and down payment on this large ticket item. Also, as I begin to build my business, which is part of my 5-year plan, really part of my next year plan, I will need some sort of vehicle to get my things to various different crafts fairs and shows and things like that. This is a good financial investment for me. Additionally, I am somebody who has long wanted to live a traveling lifestyle in an RV, and I can turn this box truck into a renovated living space. So for all three of those reasons, that's why I want that. Ultimately, as I'm getting closer and closer to the actual purchase, because that's number one priority for me right now, it's looking like this $5,195 was a fairly underestimated for a working vehicle that would meet those needs. But we'll see what that looks like when the actual time comes. For now, that's my estimate. I do have a three-way mirror. I was able, on my list, this one I was able to find at Home Depot. Has a price tag of roughly $700. There's lots of options, some in the $2,000 range and some in the like $70 range. I need something that is going to be a quality piece, but I don't need something that is going to be a show piece. So once that becomes more of a reality, I will do more research and we will dial in what this really looks like. I'm somebody who does a lot of sewing, and apparel sewing is one of those things. I no longer live near people who are also proficient at apparel sewing. So I need the three-way mirror in order to be able to fit myself properly. And so that's why that's on the list. Now, this is new to me, this UPS store for $349. And this is part of my business plan, getting my business started. The UPS store, you can purchase a box from them, and that's a legitimate street address. And that's a great way to have a business address that's a legitimate address that isn't where you're living right now. And this $349 is the price for a medium box for 12 months. So that's on the list because the business plan is something that is moving forward and I need to be preparing for that. But that's not going to happen in this month or the next month. I still want a steam juicer for $150. That again is another niche product. It's not super duper important, so it's not going to wait it's not going to happen when my budget is as close and as tight as it currently is. But it's on the list because I want one, and someday I'm going to have one. And then this green bean Frencher, it's only $20. For $20, I could buy that whenever I want, but it's also a niche product, just a want, not a real need. And so for now, it's just on the list so that it's out of my head. That does mean that I have a total of $12,609 in debt. No, in desires. $12,609 worth of things I'd like to own. And the two biggest items on that list are significantly underestimated, I'm finding. So that will happen if and when it ever happens, but that's the list. The next thing I go over is my savings, and the savings is fairly new. It's only been in the last 2 or 3 months that I've been able to add savings. And let's be honest, it's only because I'm padding my checks that I'm able to add to savings right now. And at some point, I will no longer have the amount of PTO I currently have. And at some point, that extra will stop. So I really need to find a way to live within lower than the estimate I'm giving myself. I either need to make more money, which of course would be lovely, or have less bills, or both. And so that's where we're at. Savings, I have 2 savings accounts at 2 separate banks. When I started the month of March, when I ended February, I had $192 in my Bank of America account. I did pull $73 of that out, which left that account as we close out March and head into April with $119 in it. And then in my other savings account, I started March with $283.02. That 2 cents was my interest. I earned a whopping 2 cents the month prior. I did pull out $263.62, which left me with $19.40 in that bank account. Now, some of this, again, is coming back. I pulled that money out of savings to give to my son to get his car fixed. Once he gets paid again, that's coming back and it will go straight into savings. But as we close out March, that's where those accounts sit. So $19.40, which does mean I started with a total of $475.02. I removed $336.62 over the course of this month, which left me with only $138.40 in my savings accounts. It's better than zero, but it's a whole lot less than $1,000. So that I expect to see some great improvement next month, but that's where I'm at as we close out this month. Then we just go over my credit score, and honestly at this point it's time for me to stop talking about that on these videos. I've reached a point where I'm no longer sharing what my current credit score is. For some reason that seems like, for safety of identity, that should be a thing that I keep covered. So I'll just tell you now that when I started my journey, the furthest I could look back was April of 2020. And at that time I had a credit score of $582. The highest I was able to get was $695. Sorry about the trains, you guys. I'm so sorry. I wish I could stop that. The highest point was in June of 2021 at $695, not dollars, just $695 for a credit score. And then a series of life events came and happened, and my credit score dropped from 695 all the way down to 490 in September of 2022. I'm currently on a journey to build my credit back up, and I'm somewhere in this sphere at this point between 580 and 669. I'll be honest, this number dropped significantly in the month of March, and I was kind of shocked about that. So when I finally finished paying off my last credit card, I had $23.70 on that when I started March. I paid that off in March, and then that dropped off my credit score and showed that account as closed. And when that happened, my score dropped, and I fully expected my score to get significantly better. But apparently when that account shows as closed, maybe some of you guys know this and I'm the only one who's surprised, but once that account shows as closed, it's no longer open, and that time no longer applies in your credit score. So my average line of credit went from like 7 years to 3.5 or 4 years. So I dropped the amount of time I had on my credit because that account now showed closed and that account no longer counted. So my credit score dropped like 40 points. So there's that. So that is where I'm finishing out the month of March. That's where we're at. How's that look? There's good things, there's bad things. I wish things looked better. I really wanted this credit score to get out of fair and get into good. And that's not going to happen. I was really hoping I would be able to do some business related stuff. Well, to do this U-Haul. And that is really counting on my credit score being better than it is. So I don't know. That's where we're at, you guys, as we close out the month of March and head into April. Now this is the last month. I don't have enough pages left in this book. I just have the one to do the month of April in this book. So as we start April, I will be in a new book, and I'm actually kind of excited about that, but it is very much learning all over again. I have to say, I understood once I went looking for a book once this one was empty, I realized why so many people in this field, or I realized why so many of you have your own merch, your own budgeting books, your own things that you're like, this is what I use, and you can buy the same thing too, because nothing I found is exactly what I wanted to use. This book here has its own downfalls and reasons why it's not great, and I did get a book with 3 columns, and for different reasons it's not fabulous and great. So I don't know, my inventing brain is trying to process a book that works best for me, and then of course I would want to share that with others, because why wouldn't you? Anyway, now I'm rambling. So that's all I have for you for today's video. I'm still not bringing any of the crafting back into my channel, and I realized while I was speaking to you guys today that I have gotten out of the habit of having my positive reflection video at the end of the month. So I'm not going to do that for March because I hadn't planned for it. But I'm going to bring that back in because that's very important to me. I look at those numbers at the end of the month and I get very discouraged. And a lot of good things have happened every single month, and I need to be able to reflect on what those good things are, to make this more positive and more pleasant and not so drudgery and negative. So we will be looking at that as we move forward, and I will be bringing my crafts back into the back end of this channel. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I thank you guys so much for continuing to stick with me, and wherever you're at, whatever you're doing today, please have some fun. Bye-bye now.